New York City was dressed in its winter coat. Streets lined with frost, buildings casting long shadows, and steam curling up from manhole covers like the city itself was breathing. Jack Whitmore, 29, billionaire heir to Whitmore Industries, had everything the magazine said mattered. His photo was on Forbes, his signature could move stock prices, and every luxury was at his fingertips. And yet, he woke up that morning with the same dull ache he'd been carrying for years. His penthouse windows looked out over Manhattan's skyline, but all he saw was the reflection of a man who had no reason to get out of bed except for meetings and numbers. He had power, but no one to share Sunday breakfast with. Wealth, but no hand to hold when the city lights dimmed. Instead of calling his driver, Jack put on a charcoal coat, slipped gloves over his hands, and decided to walk. He told himself he needed the fresh air, but the truth was, he was running from the walls closing in. As he passed a quiet side street, something made him stop. A young woman knelt on the icy pavement, chasing runaway apples that had spilled from a torn grocery bag. Her breath came in quick, visible clouds. A faded wool scarf hung loosely around her neck, and her dark brown hair was tangled by the wind. Her boots were scuffed, and her coat was patched at the elbow. She reached for an apple rolling toward the gutter, but her glove caught on a piece of ice and tore. She didn't swear or sigh, she just laughed, a soft, self-deprecating sound. Jack bent down without thinking, scooping up 2 apples and holding them out. "Jack, you'll lose these to traffic if you keep chasing them like that." Elizabeth, smiling faintly. "They're already bruised, like my week." Jack found himself studying her face. Not the kind of beauty that came from stylists or expensive clothes, but the kind you notice slowly, like sunlight warming a room. "Jack, can I carry these for you?" "Elizabeth, only if you're headed to the bakery on the corner. I work there." They walked together, her paper bag cradled carefully in his hands. She didn't ask who he was. She didn't glance at his expensive watch or tailored coat. She just talked about the weather, the snowstorm forecast for the weekend, and how she hoped the bakery's heater wouldn't break again. When they reached the small bakery, Carter's Bakes Brews, she pushed the door open, warm cinnamon-scented air rushing out to meet them. "Elizabeth, thanks for the rescue, stranger." She disappeared inside, apron in hand. Jack stood outside for a moment longer than necessary, unsure why the sight of her vanishing behind the counter made him feel something. Jack told himself it was coincidence the next day when he found himself back on that street, and the day after that. But by day 4, he stopped pretending. The bakery was cozy, lit with string lights that gave the place a golden glow. The chalkboard menu was written in cheerful handwriting. Jack stepped in, the bell above the door jingling. She was behind the counter. No makeup, hair tied back, a faint dusting of flour on her cheek. "Jack. Coffee, black. Elizabeth. That's the easy order. You want a seat?" When she brought him the cup, she tilted her head. "Elizabeth. You were here yesterday, too, and the day before. Don't tell me you're stalking our pastries." "Jack. Maybe I just like the coffee." "Elizabeth. Or maybe you like talking to me." Jack, smiling. "Maybe." That became their pattern. Morning visits, short conversations. Slowly, the wall between them thinned. Elizabeth told him she was 24, living in a rented room above the bakery. She'd moved to New York 2 years ago to work and send money to her mother in Maine, who'd been struggling with health issues. Her second job was at a diner. She had no time for dating, and dreams were something she didn't dare spend money on. Jack didn't tell her who he was, not yet. With her, he wasn't Jack Whitmore, billionaire CEO. He was just Jack, the man who liked black coffee and the sound of her laugh. A rainy afternoon found them sitting together in the quiet bakery. Elizabeth had a break between customers. "Elizabeth, you always look like you're thinking about something far away." "Jack, maybe I'm thinking about someone close." She rolled her eyes but smiled. Jack started fixing small things around the bakery, a squeaky door hinge, a wobbly table leg. He noticed how her eyes lit up when she talked about photography. One day, she showed him a worn leather camera case under the counter. Inside were prints of her photos, candid shots of people laughing, city streets in the early morning, a little boy holding an umbrella too big for him. "Jack, these are incredible." "Elizabeth, they're just moments. Moments don't pay rent." 3 weeks later, Elizabeth got a call from a friend. Someone needed a photographer for a high-profile charity gala uptown. The pay was more than she made in a week. She said yes. When she arrived at the ballroom, her camera slung over her shoulder, she froze. There, under a massive crystal chandelier, in a tuxedo that looked like it was made for him, was Jack. But not her Jack. This was Jack Whitmore, Forbes' youngest billionaire, talking to senators and film stars. Her stomach dropped. When he finally spotted her, his expression softened, but she couldn't move. Later, on the balcony away from the crowd, "Elizabeth, you lied." "Jack, I didn't. I just didn't tell you everything." "Elizabeth, because you knew I'd see you differently." "Jack, because I wanted you to see me before you saw all of this." She left without saying goodbye. The next week, Jack came to the bakery every morning. She served him coffee but barely spoke. Her friend warned her, "Men like him, they don't end up with girls like us. We're just a story they tell once." Elizabeth told herself she believed that. But every night, when she closed the bakery, she found herself hoping to see him waiting outside a month later on a snow-bright morning. A black car pulled up in front of the bakery. Jack stepped out. No tux, no bodyguards, just a wool coat and a paper bag of apples. "Jack, I bought these, and the bakery." "Elizabeth, you what?" "Jack, it's yours now. No strings. Open your studio upstairs. Keep the bakery downstairs. If you want me gone, I'll sign it over and walk away." Her eyes filled with tears. "Elizabeth, why would you do this?" "Jack, because the first time I saw you picking up those apples, I knew I didn't want a world without you in it." She dropped her gloves, stepped forward, and kissed him. Slow, certain, like a promise the bakery thrived. Elizabeth opened her photography studio above it, her first framed photo being 2 coffee cups by a window, taken the morning after she said yes to him. The caption read, "Home is a person." And for Jack and Elizabeth, that person would always be each other.